Hey everybody, welcome to Punk Rock HR. I'm Lori Rudiman. Ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to be a writer, but it turns out I'm terrible at fiction and poetry. Like, I'm not just beating myself up. It's a hard endeavor to write it, and then asking someone to read it, well, that never turns out well. But I naturally found this form of writing called blogging, and it suited me well. I'm pretty good at it. So for the last decade, I thought, I'll just take this style of blogging and write something nonfiction. And that turned out to be pretty naive. You know, I worked with agents and publishers who had an interest in all of this, but I couldn't write a book about human resources. And then I tried to do it again and write a book about failure. And boy, that failed pretty hard. I was pretty down in the dumps about my career prospects as a writer. And one of my colleagues said to me, "You just need to shut up and write the book you were meant to write." And I was like, "Excuse me? What?" But it turns out this guy was right. I had been distracting myself with all of these projects and endeavors, and I just needed to shut up and quiet my mind and write the book I was born to write. And it started with answering a fundamental question: what happens when you're your own worst enemy? For me and for so many people, that's it. We just get in our own way over and over again. This was especially true a little over a decade ago when I worked at a company called Pfizer. It's a global pharmaceutical company, and they were going through these massive layoffs. And I was an anxious, depressed, out of shape HR lady who didn't get along with anybody. And my job needed me to be loyal, present, and engaged. And it turns out I was just really terrible. Whenever there was hostility or tension with anybody, I blamed others. And when I wasn't criticizing my colleagues or the leaders around me, I just beat up on myself. The struggle was real, but the struggle was mostly in my head. But I got through that period in my life. And I think it's because I had an epiphany at an airport on a business trip. I was eating Starburst and drinking Pepsi for dinner, which is just disgusting. I realize that, but I had enough that night. I wanted a better life. But I also realized that you just can't flip a switch and hope for change. In fact, I had been doing that in that job and it wasn't working out. And I thought, God, I just need to be like Pfizer. I need to run my life like a business. I need to be ruthless and prioritize myself first. This book is born out of that moment at the airport. Betting on You, How to Put Yourself First and Finally Take Control of Your Career tells my story and the stories of other people who prioritized well-being, beat imposter syndrome, fixed their money, and doubled down on learning to make their lives better. In my book, I also offer insights and tactical advice on how to look for work in a realistic and effective way, how to navigate tricky office politics, which I've learned how to do, sort of, and to be your own HR professional when your human resources department lets you down. My personal story is woven throughout the book, and that's really hard for me because, believe it or not, I'm kind of private. And I'm not a narcissist. I'm really not. But I've come to see how my life informs my practice as a keynote speaker, as a coach, and as an HR consultant. And although I continue to still get in my own way, I've learned a few things on my journey. So my tone is less like a cheesy motivational speaker who's made it, and more like a big sister who just tells it like it is. And how is it? How is it for all of us? Well, it's complicated. That's why I'm sharing the good, the bad, the ugly, the embarrassing. I talk about taboo subjects from my own life, like weight loss, exercise, and how to quit your job and leave with dignity when it's just not working out. Some of it's cringeworthy. Some of it I've never told before, but I'm doing it because I think there are important lessons that we can all learn from. When work and life don't blend together very well, it can feel like all is lost, and we default into a state of learned helplessness and think there's no way it can get any better. That was me multiple points in my life, but especially when I worked at Pfizer, and I learned that it's nonsense. I think we can fix work and fix our lives, and I think we can do it within 6 months. Betting on You, How to Put Yourself First and Finally Take Control of Your Career is going to be available for pre-order on Amazon in September. Like, less than 6 months away. I cannot believe it. I'm so excited. And I'm working on book number 2. If you want to be a part of this journey, and I cannot do this without you, please head on over to lorirudiman.com/newsletter to stay up to date on the book, on my book tour that's probably only going to happen in my head, on all things related to the book. That's where it's going to be. I'll also have information in that newsletter about how to get a promotional copy so you don't have to spend any money, because you probably don't have any money because of this coronavirus pandemic. But I want to get this book out there, and I'd love to put it in your hands. So the newsletter is where that's at. I'm really grateful that my friend told me to shut up and write the book that I was meant to write, because as hard as it was to hear it at that moment, he was telling me to focus. He was telling me to get rid of distractions, to prioritize my life and really understand what's important. And I recognize that what's important for me may not be what matters to you, but I'm betting that this book will help you figure it out. This episode of Punk Rock HR was produced by Danny Ozment and his team at Emerald City Production. Thanks again for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time on Punk Rock HR.